Hello, and welcome to Pain into Power, part 2 of my story. My name is Teresa Stott, and I'm here to share the reality of what tenants experience when oversight fails. In this series, I expose the events surrounding the fire at Botsford Place Terrace Apartments on April 19, 2025, the aftermath for my family, and the gaps in accountability that left tenants like me without support. Today, you will see my very first walkthrough of my apartment after the fire, guided by a firefighter. For safety reasons, I was only allowed inside for a short time, but what you'll see captures the full impact of what happened. My daughters and I lost everything: our belongings, our sense of security, and our home. This video shows not only the physical damage, but also the emotional toll of realizing how quickly your life can change when inspections and oversights are ignored. In this episode, I'll also explain the timeline leading up to the fire, including changes in insurance, environmental liens, and maintenance issues, all documented in public records and FOIA reports. I want you to watch closely. This isn't just my story. It's the story of tenants across the country who are left vulnerable when those responsible for safety fail to act. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can follow part 3 and stay tuned as I continue exposing what the records show about oversight, negligence, and accountability. Now let's watch the first moments inside my apartment the day I saw the aftermath for the very first time. I can't believe this. This was once our home. Oh my God.
I'm gonna go past those, okay?
Oh. Oh my God.
548 and 515 for welfare check. 530.
548 for bumper.
This is crazy. Okay.
Alright, you alright? We can lock it up?
Yes.
Okay. Very sorry.
I just. Man.
We gotta get Mr. Perry over here to lock your door.
Okay. I just.
Do you have any camera footage from that day? Inside the apartment or
I already looked and no, it didn't record.
Alright. Are you in contact with Brian Panko on the Red Cross for any assistance?
Yeah.
Okay.
As we look at these photos from the night, I want you to pay close attention to one in particular. On the left side of the building at the top window, that's my apartment. That's where my daughters and I lived. I called 911 around 10:01 p.m. because I could hear wires crackling inside my bathroom vent. I could see the smoke filling up my bathroom. I knew something was wrong. I knew there was danger, and I reached out for help. In these photos, you can actually see the firefighters actively working to contain the fire. Every moment captured here represents the urgency, the chaos, and the reality of what my home went through that night. And this is just the beginning of the story. What you don't see in these photos are the financial and insurance changes that were happening behind the scenes, changes that would directly affect the safety and protection of the tenants like me. Now, before we get into the details of what happened with my apartment and the fire, I want to show you the actual public records I pulled. These are official documents anyone can access online from the Oakland County Register of Deeds website. That means everything I'm sharing is verified, factual, and public, not hearsay or speculation. Now, if you want to look for yourself, you can go to ocmideeds.com. That's ocmideeds.com and search for the property Botsford Place Terrace Apartments or the property identification number, also known as the PIN, which I'll reference as we go. All of these documents are available there. Now, when you look at these documents, it can feel confusing at first. There are a lot of terms and numbers. So let me explain how to read them because I had the same problems. The doc number. This is the official tracking number for each document. Think of it like a receipt or a case number. The doc type. This tells you what the document is, like a mortgage, a discharge of a lien, an assignment of rents, or a lease. Each type has a legal meaning, and I'll explain that for each one. The grantor and grantee. The grantor is the person or company giving or changing something like a mortgage or insurance coverage. The grantee is who receives it. The recorded date. This is the official date the document was filed with the county. It's how we know when changes were made. For example, whether insurance coverage switched before the fire. PIN, property identification number. This is how the document is tied to the specific property. So, these documents are for Botsford Place Terrace Apartments and not another building. Once you understand these sections, you can see exactly what happened and when. You'll notice patterns like insurance being changed, liens being filed or discharged, or ownership updates. All important pieces of the story leading up to the fire. Now that you know where these documents come from and how to read them, let's go through each of the 22 results step by step, breaking down what each one means, why it matters, and how it connects to the safety and well being of tenants like me and my daughters. Number one, discharge of mortgage. Docket number 2025025539. Recorded March 7th, 2025. The first document is a discharge of mortgage. A mortgage is basically a loan or a debt tied to the property. When it's discharged, it means the bank or lender, in this case, Banner Bank, is saying that the debt or claim is cleared. Notice the date, March 7th, 2025, just about 6 weeks before the fire. This could indicate a change in the financial responsibility tied to the property, which sometimes affect insurance coverage and who's responsible for maintaining the property. Number two, discharge of assignment of lease. Doc number 202-500-25538. Recorded March 7th, 2025. Next is a discharge of assignment of lease. Safeco Insurance of America was the grantor here, meaning they were giving up or changing an insurance assignment on the property. Discharging an assignment of lease can indicate a shift in coverage, responsibility for tenants, and property management. Again, just weeks before the fire. Number three, assignment of rents. Doc number 202-500-11496. Recorded January 30th, 2025. This document shows Botsford Place Terrace Apartments assigning their rent income to Gencie's Credit Union. In simple terms, it means the rent money tenants pay might go directly to the bank as collateral for a loan. This happened January 30th, 2025, before the fire, which shows the property's finances were being restructured right before disaster struck. Number 4, mortgage. Doc number 202500111495. Recorded January 30th, 2025. Here, the property took out a new mortgage from Gencie's Credit Union. This is essentially new debt or refinancing. Why it matters? A new mortgage often triggers new insurance requirements. That means the insurance coverage could have changed in the weeks before the fire, which could affect which insurance would pay out after the fire. Number 5, discharge of claim of lien. Doc 202-400-2396, recorded January 8th, 2024. A lien is when a company claims the property owes them money, often for unpaid work or environmental cleanup. Great Lakes Environmental Services had previously placed a lien, and this document shows it was discharged, meaning it was cleared. Now, this is important because the building had environmental issues before the fire, which are part of the FOIA report findings. Okay? Number 6, claim of lien. Doc number 202-300-14642. This was recorded February 14th, 2023. Going back a little, this shows when Great Lakes Environmental Services originally placed the lien on the property. So you can see the property had environmental hazards or work that needed to be done 2 years before the fire. For me, that's critical for understanding the risk us tenants faced. Now, 7 through 11 agreements and easements with City of Farmington Hills docs 202 0047361 to doc number 2020-0047357, which was recorded March 10th, 2020. Now, these documents involve Botsford General Hospital in the city of Farmington Hills. They include agreements and easements, which are legal rights allowing certain use of the property, like access or utility placement. For tenants, it shows the building had ongoing legal arrangements affecting property management assets and city oversight, all recorded in 2020, sorry. So years before the fire, indicating long-standing management and structural agreements. Now, I'm taking you back a bit in time just to cover all the records. Resolution Doc 2015-022-7399. This was recorded November 19th, 2015. A resolution is an official action taken by the city. This resolution might involve zoning, property use, or compliance issues. It shows the city has been involved with the property for years, providing context for the FOIA report that notes oversight fails. Now, results 13 through 14. Assessment of interest of mortgage. Docs 2015006294 and 2015006294 were recorded April 6, 2015. These involve Standard Insurance Company and Banner Bank. The mortgage assessment and interest assignment show financial and insurance stakes in the property years prior. For tenants, it helps explain why the property changed insurance coverage multiple times. which could impact liability after a fire. Result 15, UCC financing statement, Doc U 2015150038, recorded February 23rd, 2015. A UCC statement is a legal notice that a lender has a claim on property assets. In plain language, it's another layer showing who has financial rights over the property. This is public and anyone can see it. It's part of the bigger picture of management and liability. Result number 16, finance statement. Doc number 201500341199, which was recorded February 23rd, 2015. Similar to the UCC filing, this shows Botsford Place Terrace Apartments financial obligations with Standard Insurance Company. This is about insurance-backed loans and helps us understand why coverage might shift it over time. Results 17 through 18, assignment of lease and mortgage, docs 20150031604 and 201500311603, recorded February 17, 2015. Now, these are earlier mortgage and lease assignments with Standard Insurance Company. It just shows of history, a clear history of insurance and financial control over the property, giving context to the sudden changes in January and March 2025, right before the fire. Now, back in result 19, a quick claim deed, Doc 2015011715, recorded January 20th, 2015. A quick claim deed transfer ownership or interest in a property without warranties. Here it shows ownership shifting to Botsford Place Terrace Apartments. From Goodman, Claris, ownership transfers can affect insurance responsibility for maintenance and accountability for hazards. Result 20, lease. Doc number 201002328843, recorded December 29th, 2010. A lease is a rental agreement. This shows long-term rental arrangements for parts of the property, demonstrating that tenants have been paying rent under official agreements for years. Result 21, quick claim deed, Doc 19890098685, recorded July 5th, 1989, another ownership transfer, decades prior, showing the long history of property management changes. Result 22, this has to be wrong, but it's a Ackridge Book D Doc AB 010936 SED, recorded, and the date does says January 1st, 3000. Don't know what that means. This appears to be just a placeholder or system entry for property boundaries or acreage, while the recorded date seems odd. It's part of the public record documentation system. So, just by looking at these 22 documents, you can see a pattern. Insurance companies were swapped, mortgages were reassigned, and environmental liens were filed and cleared, all in the years and weeks leading up to the fire. For tenants, this is critical. It affects who is responsible for safety maintenance and whether insurance would fully cover a disaster. This context helps explain what happened that night and why my apartment and others were left vulnerable. Next, we'll connect these findings directly to the FOIA report and show how years of oversight failed by the city contributed to the disaster that my daughters and I experienced firsthand. Now, this is just a summary of the FOIA report, which shows a pattern of oversight failures by the city of Farmington Hills. It documents how inspections were not completed, maintenance issues were ignored, and warnings were not acted on, all contributing to unsafe living conditions at Botsford Place Terrace Apartments. Now, let's connect the dots between the public records and what the FOIA report highlights. Insurance changes and mortgage assignments. And the results lines of 1 through 4 and 13 through 18. Let's look at these documents showing multiple mortgage assignments and insurance company swaps in the months leading to the fire. Docs numbers for 1 through 4. Now, this is significant because the FOIA report shows that the city failed to enforce proper maintenance and safety standards. When ownership or insurance responsibilities shift frequently, oversight becomes even more critical. And here, it wasn't happening. Now, the environmental liens, Docs 5 through 6. The FOIA report mentions unresolved environmental hazards. These public records show a lien placed by Great Lakes Environmental Services in 2023 and discharged in 2024. That shows that there were known environmental issues that were not fully resolved before the fire, directly tying into the city's lack of follow up, highlighted in the FOIA report. Okay, city agreements and easements, Doc 7 through 11. The FOIA report emphasizes city responsibilities for inspections and compliances. These easements and agreements with the city of Farmington Hills show that the city had legal rights and responsibilities regarding the property. Yet, despite this, inspections were not properly enforced, which the FOIA report documents and which put tenants like me in danger. When you combine these public records with the FOIA report, it's clear that the property was financially and structurally mismanaged, and oversight from the city failed. That's why on the night of the fire, I called 911 around 10:01 p.m. after hearing wires crackling in my bathroom vent. Why the firefighters had to limit my access to my own apartment for safety. The FOIA report's findings aren't just words on paper. They explain how years of negligence led to a real disaster for me and my daughters. Now, next, we're about to dive into the breakdown of how these insurance changes, environmental liens, and city agreements played a role in the immediate aftermath of the fire. Why some tenants were offered help while others, like me, were left with nothing, and how this connects back to the FOIA report's findings. Now, while all this was happening behind the scenes, the insurance changes, the environmental liens, and the city's oversight failures, not every tenant was treated equally. What I'm about to show you is a resident who, while affected by the fire, only had minor damage. Holes in her ceiling, a little smoke, and most of her belongings remained intact. Some may have gotten wet, but eventually dry. So it ain't even no point. You can see in the video that her apartment was otherwise fine. She even allowed me to record it.
Those freezer stuff, come on.
Yeah, I do want to get my food out. Okay, if you can just do it, you know.
Yeah, do what you want.
Okay. And here's the email from management offering her a 2-bedroom apartment. They provided her relocation assistance immediately, while my daughters and I, who lost everything, were not offered any alternative housing. We had no support, no assistance, and we were left scrambling to figure out how to survive after losing our home. This is not just property or finances. This is about how oversight, failures, and management decisions directly impact the lives of tenants. And it's exactly why I'm sharing this story. You can see the clear disparity in treatment, and this helps explains why the FOIA report and the public records matter, because they document what really happened before, during, and after the fire.
From the water.
Mm-hmm, and yep, and the fire, yep.
It was the floor one like that yesterday.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so you think like by like Friday they let me just like get some of my stuff. I got storage. Okay.
Now, what you're about to see was recorded 3 days after the fire. This video was taken the same day as the video you just watched of my neighbor, the resident who only had smoke damage and holes in the ceiling. By this point, the fire was already out. The scene was no longer active, but even 3 days later, I still did not have real access to my own apartment. As you watch this next clip, pay close attention to the door. I'm not being dramatic, I'm not exaggerating. The floor inside my unit had swollen so badly from water and fire damage that the door was difficult to open. This wasn't a locked door, this was structural damage. This is what inhabitable looks like.
From the water.
Mm-hmm, and yep, and the fire, yep.
It was the floor one like that yesterday.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so you think like by like Friday they let me just like get some of my stuff. I got storage. Okay.
Now, this is important because it directly contradicts the idea that my unit was simply smoke affected or that I could safely return. 3 days after the fire, I couldn't freely enter my apartment. I couldn't retrieve my belongings. I couldn't live there. And I had no relocation assistance. When I talk about layout and familiarity, I want to explain what I mean. This same maintenance man isn't just someone who lived nearby. He was someone who regularly worked inside our unit. When my daughters and I would plug certain things in, the power in our apartment would go out. He was called to our unit many times to reset the circuit breaker. Because it happened so often, he eventually taught me and my daughter how to reset the circuit breaker ourselves. That means he was familiar with our electrical issues, our breaker, and the power system connected to our unit. I'm not making accusations because those things matter when we're talking about safety. He was also a resident in this complex. To be precise, he did not live directly underneath my unit. He lived down below and to the left of me. Not straight under me, but close enough to my unit to understand the layout and conditions of the side of the building. This same maintenance man moved out of his apartment with his family 2 days before the fire. I'm not adding commentary here, I'm stating a timeline. This is the same person who had access to units, who understood the building, and who you now see on video helping open my door after the fire. I want viewers to simply note that detail because timelines and access matter, especially when we're talking about safety, inspections, and accountability. In part one, I showed you how oversight failed and how tenants paid the price. In this part, I showed you something different. I showed you the paper trail don't burn. I showed you public records, recorded dates, insurance-related filings, liens, mortgages, and assignments. These documents don't tell you how to feel. They tell you when things happened. And when you line those dates up next to the fire, next to the FOIA reports, and next to my lived experience, questions naturally come up. I didn't create these records. I didn't write them. I didn't edit them. I pulled them from public databases that anyone can access. And I showed you how to read them so you can verify them yourself. Because this story isn't speculation, it's about documentation. And now that you've seen the records and the timeline, the next part focuses on what happened after the fire. How different tenants were treated, what was offered to some and denied to others, what was said in emails, and how fast the tone changed. Part 3 is called Who Was Protected, Who Was Rushed. And in this part, I let the videos, the emails, and the timestamps speak for themselves. Before I close this part, I need you to do one thing. If you want to stay updated as this story continues, subscribe and turn on notifications. All of my platforms are on the screen now. Follow me so you don't miss what's coming next. This is being released in parts on purpose. Part 3 is coming, and it goes even deeper. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for standing with me.